Days 86 and 87, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. So day 86, I decided that I need to move on from Louisiana, but the last thing I absolutely had to do there was to visit the delta of the Mississippi River. I mean, I was at its headwaters and I saw how and where it begins, and I absolutely needed to see how and where it ends. Louisiana is a weird state, and I hate to say it, I did not like it. I did not like having gators as roadkill, and the huge swamps, or bayous as they're called, endless, that you drive through, and the road is on stilts, and the constant to-doom, to-doom, to-doom of going over the seams in the road. And even the houses along the road are on stilts. I mean, the first 2 floors are stilts, and then the house itself begins around the level of a 3rd floor. And then you get to the delta, and it's just swamps with tons of insects, and bullet-ridden sign saying that this is the delta. So yeah, I had to do it because, I was at the beginning of the Mississippi and I needed to see the end. But I can't say I liked it or was impressed. And then I drove back all the way in the direction of New Orleans. I passed it again, and you get onto something called Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, which is actually the longest continuous over-water bridge in the world. It runs for close to 30 miles, and it goes over Lake Pontchartrain, which is not actually a lake. It's saltwater estuary, and that was a very interesting experience because, again, for 30 miles you drive over water, and you drive and you drive, and there are tons of pelicans that are nesting, I guess, under the bridge itself, and they are flying out from under the bridge and cruising. And when you see them up close, these birds are freaking huge, and they don't pay any attention to the cars. They probably expect that if they're on the collision course with you, you're gonna swerve. And pretty soon after you leave the causeway, you cross from Louisiana into the state of Mississippi. And as I was driving on the interstate, they had this wonderful visitor center when you cross into Mississippi. And in the beginning, I thought it was just a restored old-time mansion, but they told me, no, it was specifically built like that just a couple of years prior, but it looked like a completely authentic Southern mansion house. So that was pretty remarkable. And then I got to a little town of Gulfport, Mississippi, that was really nice, except that quite a few houses, especially on the outskirts of town, were flying Confederate flags. And that was a little puzzling, but I guess that's deep south for you. So day 87 started off in Gulfport, where I spent quite some time on the beach, and I really liked it. And then I did a short trip to the Gulf Islands National Seashore, which is actually a whole bunch of beaches and islands along the Gulf that are sort of a national park, but except for visiting the seashore, unless you want to go on the islands, then you need to get a tour and a boat, and I didn't have time to do that. And then I crossed into the state of Alabama. And the first thing I did there was going to the town of Mobile, Alabama, and I absolutely loved it. One thing I completely didn't realize is that the whole of the South, especially Alabama and Florida, were very much under Spanish influence in the early days of the country, and it wasn't quite clear whether they actually going to be under British and then American subjugation, or they're going to belong to the Spanish crown. So Mobile has this beautiful place in the middle of town called the Spanish Plaza, where they have a whole bunch of statues and a beautiful fountain and benches with beautiful mosaics donated by Spanish cities that had some kind of relationships with Mobile, Alabama throughout the years. So that was very unexpected. And also, I learned that actually the birthplace of Mardi Gras is not New Orleans, it's Mobile, Alabama. They are the ones who held the first Mardi Gras parades, and then kind of New Orleans took over. And then two more things I did that day in Alabama. One was visiting something called the Tolstoy Park, which is situated in a little town of Montrose, Alabama. So what's the story? A guy named Henry Stewart was told in the early 20s of the last century that he has tuberculosis, and that if he has any hope of living for at least a couple more years, he should relocate from Idaho to a warmer climate. So he came to Alabama and built himself this little funky round cottage where he lived hermit's life, writing novels and poems and corresponding with all kinds of people that he found interesting. And he had a remarkable likeness to the Russian writer Leo Tolstoy. That's why he started to be called the Tolstoy of Alabama. And he actually ended up living for another 20 plus years. But his house stands to this day, and it's a museum, and it's just a very quirky and interesting place to see. And the second place I saw that day is, well, you guessed it, it's called Bamahenge, and it's another pretty much full-size replica of the Stonehenge, built by a real estate magnate along a road to one of the Gulf marina estates. So it was kind of nice, except for the mosquitoes that nearly ate me alive in the 2 minutes that I was out of the car to take the picture.